Greetings, folks. Today is Thursday, January the 31st, 2019. I told you, this year is flying. It's already the end of January. Anyway, okay. Folks, Congress belongs to jail. My name is Tom Lena Weaver, and this is my commentary. Yeah, I think you heard that right. Congress belongs to jail. I can think of a number of crimes. Number one, how about fraud? And not only fraud, but premeditated fraud. You see, they take an oath of office to support and defend the Constitution. Well, they don't do that. And I think it's easy to prove that they don't do that. They don't support and defend the Constitution against anyone. They have become enemies of the Constitution, and therefore they belong in jail. They committed fraud. They take the oath that they know they're not going to keep. They're lying. And because it's an oath, it's fraud. Okay, that's one. What about quid pro quo? Chuck Schumer had come out in favor of a bill. I think he was going to introduce the bill. Maybe he did, I don't know. But he was going to introduce a bill that says you cannot say anything bad about Israel. Now, I don't know what the consequences were. Probably a fine, maybe jail time, I don't know. Now, that's unconstitutional. Number one, we have a First Amendment. Congress shall make no law about speech. We can say anything as bad about Israel as we can. And so, A, the man obviously is a fraud, in that he took an oath to support and defend the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic, and he's not doing that. He's supporting Israel. Now, why? Well, if you take a look at it, he's one of the biggest recipients of Israeli money. Now, that looks to me like a quid pro quo. That is against the law too. So what we have in Congress, basically, are criminals. We have criminals. So we don't have the Washington District of Columbia anymore. We have Washington District of Criminals. Criminals are running our country. Now, the Supreme Court is the highest. No, the Supreme Court. The supreme law of the land is the Constitution. If only the Supreme Court would follow it. In my opinion, the Supreme Court are also criminals. It's okay to violate the Constitution, isn't it? Now, wait a minute. If it is the highest law of the land, why is it okay to violate it? Now, see, if you run a stop sign, a cop can stop you and give you a ticket. Why can't we stop Congress from committing the crimes they do? Now, the President of the United States takes an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. Donald Trump is not doing that. We haven't had a president to do that for a long time. I think President Kennedy was the last one who tried to do that. But not since. So, what should we do with these presidents that do not fulfill their oath? They take an oath that they fully intend not to follow, not to keep. That's right. they don't intend to keep their oath of office. Isn't that a fraud? And not only that, it's premeditated fraud. They take an oath and already know they're not going to keep it. So why aren't these people in prison? Hey, the military takes an oath to support and defend the Constitution too. So why aren't the military fighting the real enemies of the United States? Congress, the President, the Supreme Court. Maybe they're part of it. We have a bunch of criminals in our government and perhaps in our military. I don't want to believe that about the military. I respect the military, but maybe the Joint Chiefs of Staff are part of it. They're kind of a political wing of the military. So maybe they should be in prison too. They're criminals, folks. The supreme law of the land is the Constitution, and they violate it constantly. Every time they pass a law, every time they pass a bill, and then the president signs it into law, that's a violation of the Constitution, and therefore, it's a crime. The Constitution says that laws must be in pursuance to the Constitution. But we're not seeing that. We have a Second Amendment. How many laws are there that violate the Second Amendment? We have a Fourth Amendment. The Patriot Act violates that. How many laws that we have that do we have that steal liberty from people? And we have a constitutional guarantee, a constitutional grant of liberty. And the only way to take liberty away from you is through due process of law. And only for committing a crime. Read the Fifth Amendment. We are consistently eliminating the Bill of Rights and the rest of the Constitution as well. So, why do we allow these criminals to run our government? They belong in jail. I don't know who. I guess what's going to have to happen is the people are going to have to rise up themselves and walk into the White House and say, Mr. Trump, you are under arrest. Oh, but they did away with citizens' arrest. Have you ever noticed that? Citizens are not allowed to go and arrest someone anymore. I think they did that because they probably knew it would, they would be arrested eventually by a bunch of intelligent citizens that know that they're violating their oath of office, which means it's a crime. But what can we do? So the people go in and to the White House and arrest Donald Trump. Now, where are we going to take him? Our court system is a mess. Our court system is they violate the Constitution, and they're criminals too, as far as I can see. How many times have you been to a courtroom where a judge violates the constitutional rights of a person? How many times has that happened? I've already mentioned a couple times, truth has no room in our court system. And that's one of the reasons why I started, or I launched the website Truth Matters, because nobody seems to care about it, but I do. Truth matters, folks, and I just told you the truth. That's my commentary for today. Thanks for listening.